Hello everyone, and welcome to the first meeting for SWC Game Development Club. And this video will help you all catch up to the things you have learned so far. And I'm going to begin the presentation. So, today we're going to be handling how to use and navigate a game engine. And this is going to require you to already have Unity installed on your computer. And the way you do that is by looking at the description below. There's a PDF document on how to create a Unity account, download it, and it's going to take a long time. It's a huge amount of gigabytes. But from there, then you can proceed with the video. So in the description, you can see the what you need to continue. Okay, so we're going to be messing around with a game engine. And a game engine is essentially a software for making games. So there's a lot of different softwares like Unreal, um, which is used for a lot of different games out there. I'm trying to think of one. A Hat in Time. That was not the best example. Um, Source, that one's used for a lot of Valve games. Game Maker, that's made for a lot of basic 2D games. And then there's Unity, which is infamous for bad games, but that's because it's really popular. And with a lot of popular things comes a lot of bad things. Okay, so we're going to be learning how to navigate with the Unity engine. And yeah, that's about it. I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, here we can see I opened up Unity Hub. And that was just from searching up Unity Hub because I'm using Unity Hub. If you're not using Unity Hub, then you could just click the Unity you have right here, and that would open it up, and then you'll log into your Unity. And I should not have opened them both at the same time. All right. Either way, the next thing we are going to do is create a new project. All right. So we're going to be using 3D in the project name. We can call this whatever we want. I'm just going to call this lesson one game. All right, and hit create. And this is loading now. Proceed with the tutorial. And currently, I'm using 2018 edition, so it might not match up completely with your screen. I recommend you use the 2019 long-term support Unity because it is more effective and it is just better overall. But to match the computers in the Churchill 118 room, I'm going to use 2018. All right, so here is the scene view, and this is where we see all the objects in our world. This is basically a window to our world. And right now we can see there's a camera and there's a directional light. These come default with Unity, and they're the two objects that come as we create the world. So we're going to navigate through this camera world, and the way you do that is you right click, and that way you can look around. If you right click in the scene view, you can even drag a bit off here as long as you're still holding right click. All right, let's move around. If you hit WASD, you can move around. This is going to take a little bit of getting used to, so you should mess around with this for a bit. All right. Next thing is here. This is the hierarchy. This is where we can see all the objects in our game. And currently, there are only two, which is the camera and the main light, as mentioned before. Okay, now let's move on here. This is the project tab, and this is where we see all the files of our game. And currently, it's a little empty, and we only see a scene. This scene is essentially what we're playing right now. It's like a file. This is the Unity game file that we're messing with, but let's not worry about that for now. And here, when we select an object in the hierarchy or in the scene view, then we can see all the properties. And this is one of the properties here that comes default with every single object, transform. This is the current location of where the camera is. So here we can modify the directions, the rotation. You can even drag it like this or manually type it in. And the scale. The scale will not work on the camera, so let's not worry about that for now. All right. And I'm going to set those back to 0. So our game is looking really empty right now. So let's add a cube. So the way you add a cube is you go to hierarchy, you right click here, 3D object, cube. Or you can go to create, 3D object, cube. But we only need one. All right, we have a cube now. Um, Currently the location of the cube, as mentioned here, is way off. We do not want it to be this location. We could manually type it 0, 0, 0. However, that's a little tedious. So the best way to do this kind of thing, let's say that everything was messed up, right? Then you can just hit the little gear right here. In later editions, it looks like 3 little dots, and you hit reset. And then that's it. Everything back to the defaults, zeros and ones. All right. Now let's move on to the game tab. This is where we actually see the game that we are playing. If you go here, you would see that it's actually nothing, which is odd because we have a cube. But there's a very simple explanation. It's because the camera is inside the cube. It's literally inside. So the way we do that is by we hit the camera. That's the directional light. We hit the camera, and then we move it out of the way. And there's two ways to do. There's many ways actually to do this. But for now, I'm going to say there's two ways. Here you can move the Z from the position like that. You can drag the blue arrow, which represents the Z. Just hold it down and drag, and then we can move it and see a camera preview. That's the cube, and that's the game tab. All right. If you hit E, then you can change it to rotation, and you can move that around. If you hit back to W, it goes back to translation. So there are two consecutive keys, and if you hit R, that would change the scale, but that's not important on the camera. So it wouldn't change anything right here, as mentioned before. Changing the scale is not important. So WER. All right, if we hit play, we can see our game run, and it does nothing, as expected. So what do we want our game to do currently? For now, we're going to try to add basic movement to the cube. So we're going to make the cube fall down. Here, on the right side is inspectors. This is where we can see all the properties of our cube. This is mesh render, and this is cube. Cube allows us to create a cube. It comes default with Unity. Unity comes with a bunch of default components. Components are essentially properties and features. Unity creates these themselves, so we don't have to go through the burden of creating our own by hand. Essentially, this just creates a cube for us. Mesh renderer allows us to see this the cube that we have created by rendering it onto the screen. And box collider. This one's extremely important. Unity comes in with a built-in physics system. So instead of creating our own physics, Unity allows us to create a box collider, which can automatically collide with other objects. All right, but now we want the cube to fall. So in order to do that, we add a rigid body. So here we can see all the different components that Unity comes default with. We can select in physics, and then go down to find rigid body. Not rigid body 2D, just rigid body. If you can't find it there, you can just search up rigid body into the search. Currently, I already have a rigid body, so it does not allow me to do it multiple times. Okay, and now if we hit play, oh yeah, actually Command S, Control S, or Command S, or you can go to File, save the file. And then you can see, if you hit here, the game, and the cube will fall. And that's already huge progress. Okay, now that we have our cube falling, the next thing we want to do is add a floor. So if we go here, and we hit plane, this essentially creates a flat plane object. And we can see that its coordinates are way off. So we go to the gear, reset, and now it's back to normal. But we can see the cube is currently inside the plane. So the way we do that is we select the cube and we make it go up. It is ideal that we make the cube go up instead of the plane. Otherwise, it will be the y direction will be somewhere off. And then it's ideal that we have the plane, the floor, at 0, 0, because that's where all the objects will lie. So having them all be more of a downwards offset would definitely disturb the game. So make sure the floor is at 0, 0, 0. Okay, now the plane is currently invisible to our camera. And that is because a plane is only one side, as seen here. So the way we fix that is we go to camera here, and then we move up, and then we can drag it upwards, and then drag it down using the E and W key to change it. E and W. This might take a bit of a while to get used to, so I'm just going to type the values in here to help you guys. -6 and 30, and that gives us a pretty good view. So let's proceed here. You can hit the maximize on play in order to get the full gameplay view, and this definitely makes Fingal look much bigger. So cool, we can see our cube fall, but our game looks a little boring right now with only one color. It's difficult to tell the two different objects apart. So here we're going to create a material, and this essentially makes different colors and textures in the game. So if we right click in the project and we go to create material, we can call this whatever we want. I'm going to call it floor, and I'm going to make my floor the color red. So click here, and you can experiment with all the colors you want. I'm just going to stay with red. And then in this scene, drag this new material you have created onto the object. I'm going to hit Command Z here to show you another option. If you drag it onto the plane itself, then there we go, a different color. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is organize our game, because currently we only see cube and plane. It is important that we keep the workplace organized so we don't get mixed up with other cubes and planes in the future. I'm going to rename the plane floor. Okay, there we go, success. Save the file. I'm going to rename the cube dropper. Call this whatever you want. I just thought of dropper on the spot. And here, if we hit play, we can see the cube falls. All right, now this is good progress. We want our cube to have a boundary in order to prevent it from falling in the future along those edges. So we're going to create walls for this little cube. This is not mandatory, but this is going to be really good practice if you continue from here. So we're going to create a cube here, reset its coordinates, and let's move it along. I believe this should be 5.5. Yeah, that looks good. All right, and if I hit E, I can extrude this. If I hit hit R, I meant my bad, R. If I hit R, then I can extrude this. All right, that's good enough. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're still beginners here. Control D to duplicate, press W. And if you're not comfortable with the hotkeys, you can just press up here. And then go to here, -5.5. All right, now this is going to be tricky. How are we going to deal with the other sides? That's basic. We do the rotation, 180. Actually, wait, what am I saying? 90. There we go. And then we take the X, 5.5, and we put into the Z. And then we do that again with the other one, Control D, negative. I keep saying control, it's control or command. It doesn't matter. All right, and now we have a stage. Looks really nice. If we hit play, then we could see, there we go, the cube falls. Okay, but there's currently one issue. If we move our floor, let's say we want to move our arena to the side, we have to do each and every single one individually, which does take a long time. So in order to save time and be efficient, we can create an empty game object. What an empty game object is just an object that has nothing in it except coordinates. It's just location. That's it. So we're going to set this back to 0 to match up perfectly with the origin of everything else. And then we're going to call this stage. And I'm also going to rename these cubes to be walls. I cannot do it like that. All right, I'm going to have to call them individually, wall. Oh my goodness. Actually, let's not do that. That's going to take way too long. Now we're going to drag the floor and all the walls onto stage. Yeah, organize it beforehand. Otherwise, you're going to end up with this. It just saves time. All right, now that we have stage, we can mess with the entire body as a whole. And that's huge progress. And now you guys know how to navigate Unity and mess with properties. And make sure you practice around. It definitely takes a lot of time to get used to. All right, and that's the lesson for today. Now you guys know how to navigate Unity and mess around with the different objects and what's going on with the huge thing. Down below, I have a PDF of the lesson we went through in a glance. It also has a little bit of troubleshooting issues that you might run through. Um, until then, I'm going to see you guys in the next lesson and make sure you practice and take good care.